In fact, I think you got Kim to fly out to the track or something like that. So, I mean,
I told him right away. So I went up to his translator, Leo, and I was like, "Hey, Leo, I need you to, tell Kimmy something for me." He's like, "Yeah, what's that?" And I was like, "Let him know he's 0 for 1." And we got a good laugh out of it.
hey, everybody, and welcome to episode number 192 of the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media. And today we move out to the NL West, and I guess the American League Central, since the Padres are in Minnesota to take on the Twins, with the veteran first baseman slash DH slash do everything these days, the faux hawk wearing Matt Carpenter. Is that just your bedhead, or is that faux hawk at choice at 37 years old?
I think it's a little bit more bedhead than faux hawk, to be honest. I just came from the gym, so it might just be like sweaty workout hair.
That is impressive, dude. You already got your workout in?
At this age, you got to get moving earlier. You just won't get moving at all.
So what's a workout on a game day for you look like?
I'll just go in and just typical, like today was an upper body day. I like to get my workouts done like at the hotel on the road in the morning, so that when I get to the field, the visiting weight rooms are a little smaller than the home weight rooms, and it can be a scramble sometimes with a bunch of guys trying to get their lifts in. So I just like to I like to get up and get it out of the way. Plus, I'm just a older guy who gets up early and goes to bed early. So you just want to get that part of the day over with.
Yeah, but you haven't hit the part where I've hit, because I'm 15 years older than you. I've hit the part where at 2 or 3 in the morning, I got to get up and go. Don't worry, that's coming.
Get up and go to work out
Tinkle.
or go to the bat. That's what I thought. Okay, yeah, I've heard that. Not looking forward to it. Not looking forward to it.
Matt, what part of this body thought I was working out at 2 or 3 in the morning?
Hey, I can only see you from the neck up right now. So from the neck up, you look great.
Thanks. I'm trying to hold my own. Do you fast and then work out, or do you have you got to have coffee or something before you do it?
Yeah, I'm a like as soon as my feet hit the ground in the morning, a cup of black coffee, sometimes two. But I'll work out without eating, and then get done working out, grab a bite to eat, smoothie, something light, and then head on over to the field and get ramped up.
Are you a first bus guy still?
Not as much now. We have 3 buses here in San Diego, which is a new development for me. I haven't had a team that did 3. So I go with the middle slot. So like today we got a 1, a 2:30, and a 3:30. I'll be on the 2:30.
Okay. Do you have a bus partner?
A lot of guys, no, to answer your question, a lot of guys take the first bus. The second bus, it's kind of just like me and some of the media guys. Third bus, I don't know who's on that. Might be a few guys, but a lot of guys take the 1 o'clock.
Okay. It's good. I like to hear that, because it's, for so long, you were in one way of life, right? It was the Cardinal way for you for like a dozen years. And now in the last 2 years, you've had to kind of find your way. For a guy who had to do that for the first time in his mid-30s. Was it strange?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think, just seeing how other teams do certain things. Better for worse, some things, like, I've been really lucky. The 2 places that I've been, obviously, getting to go to the Yankees last year and seeing how they do things. Just another great organization, prestigious organization with a ton of history. So, and just, it's funny, there's a lot of similarities between St. Louis and New York, but there's also a lot of differences, and it's just, success. I believe success leaves footprints. So there's some things that they do that are very similar. And then, it's a different animal playing in the city of New York versus the Midwest, St. Louis. So there's some things that are just a little bit different, a little bit more challenging. And then, it's really been really fun to kind of be in San Diego here on the West Coast, just a totally different feel, totally different way of doing things, but also, a really good team that cares a lot and works hard and just doing it. Everybody's different. We're all different. And it's been fun to kind of, see it. But to your point at the beginning, it's challenging because you come up a certain way, you're used to things being a certain way, and everybody kind of has their own way of doing stuff.
When you got to New York, because you're a Texas kid, and then you spend, basically 15 years in an organization, and then you got to move on. New York is not easy. Like, I love visiting, but I don't know if I could live there for several months. Did you live in the city? Did you take the subway? What the hell did you do?
It was crazy. I've had very little experience in New York City. The only times that I've ever stepped foot in that city were when we played the Mets. Being in the National League, and then the one time I think it was 2017 where we played the Yankees in interleague play. So I mean, we're talking like 3 days at a time, once a year. That my experience, and I'm typically a guy that when I'm on the road, I don't do a lot. It's like go to the game, come back to the hotel, go to sleep, go back to the game. Just kind of that's kind of my thing. I'm not really a guy who gets out a ton. So I had next to no experience in that city. We signed with the Yankees, move into downtown Manhattan, get an apartment on 52nd and 7th, and I'm just thrown right into the middle of it. We're full go, like living in downtown New York. And man, I'll be honest with you, I loved it. It was a great experience. I think I'd be lying if I were to say that would have been an easy thing to play 10 years there. I mean, I have so much respect for the guys who, like Derek Jeter, who made a career, and many others that just played there for as long as they have. I mean, because there are some, especially from a guy like me from Texas, there are some challenges there. But listen, the city of New York's great. Playing for Yankees, obviously a dream come true, and then those fans and the passion that they have, it was nothing. It was such a thrill for me and my family, and a great experience I'll never forget.
So you've got two youngish kids. How old are your kids?
I got a 6 and 5-year-old. I would say, like, I mean, if I was, and that's the thing, I think about Derek, and just not that I say it makes it easier. I mean, him being the face of that franchise and dealing with, the media and all the pressures and things that come with playing in New York. But for me, I think the hardest thing was just, it was more on my kids, living in that apartment in downtown Manhattan with 6 and 5-year-old that just want to go all day long. I mean, I can't tell you, we woke up, I was like a 7-block walk from Central Park, and my son would wake me up every morning at 8 a.m. and we'd walk to Central Park and hit wiffle balls in the fields out there. And he was relentless in his, knocking on that door and saying, "Let's go." So, that was a challenge on Dad more than maybe him, but we made the best of it. We enjoyed it, and there were some challenges, but I'd do it all over again.
What was the biggest challenge?
Just like, I guess for a guy, for me, 11 years in St. Louis, having my own car, driving to the stadium, 15 minutes, game's over, 15 minutes, I'm back at home, putting my kids to bed. New York, I mean, didn't have a car. I got a driver. It's taking me almost 45, 50 minutes to get to the park, and then same way coming home. And, it's just different, I mean, it's just a totally different, lifestyle, and, living in downtown Manhattan, which was great, versus the suburbs of St. Louis. I mean, it was just it was a totally different experience, and not necessarily a bad experience, but just totally different. And, sometimes the different things can be challenging because you're just trying to get used to them, and just trying to figure out how to make it work. But man, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and a great new experience for not just me, but my family. And, something we'll never forget.
Listeners and viewers of the Rose Rotation, there has never been a better time to fan like a champ, thanks to the good people over at Foco.com. Foco is officially licensed by both Major League Baseball and the MLBPA. They have a wide range of products, everything from floral shirts to this baby, the straw hat, loungewear, much more. And they have player and mascot bobbleheads. Look at my guy Slider. Look at him. He's getting ready for the summer with the air tube, and he's got the drink and everything. Huh? Look at him. You think he's ready for summer? You should be ready as well. In fact, my 17-year-old Brady, he's a camp counselor at a baseball camp during the summer. When it's really hot out here, like 100 degrees, he's like, "Dad, give me the Foco straw hat. That is my official hat of the summer." So it's never been easier to find the gear, find your fandom, and let everybody know where your allegiance lies. Foco.com has everything you need to get through the 162 game schedule and beyond, whether you're taking in the action at the ballpark, taking it easy, watching the game at home, hanging out on the couch, or, on a raft in the pool. So if you're ready to take your team spirit to the next level, head on over to foco.com/JohnBoy. That is FOCO.com/JohnBoy. Get ready to gear up. And right now, our listeners, use the code word JohnBoy, 15% off your first order. That's Foco.com. Find your fandom. Slider says so. Listen, I want to get to a lot of stuff with the Padres, but I do want to ask you one thing about Aaron Judge. As a guy who has lived and breathed it the way you have throughout your career, to see what he was doing and then getting a chance to hit 62, were you almost like a baseball fan on some days there at the end of September?
I mean, I don't even know if that would do it justice. I mean, I just looked at him like a mythical hero. I mean, he was like something. I felt like I was watching, one of the legendary Yankees that you read about in books, like a Babe Ruth or a Mickey Mantle. It's just like I'm watching this guy every day, and the way he goes about it, and the way the presence he has. I mean, he's just a monster, and just the way he handled his successes, and the way he approached the media, and the way he treated his teammates, and the way he literally got the big hit whenever we needed it. It was so like storybook. It was just like the most amazing thing I've ever watched. And I tell a lot of people, I can't tell you how many people I said this to over the offseason, that this guy is one of the best teammates I've ever had, one of the best people I've ever been around. But the thing that impressed me the most about him was just the way that whole year went down for him. I mean, you think about how that season started. He, went through a huge public negotiation, turned down a contract that a lot of people were, questioning. And then he goes out in the toughest environment in sports and puts up a year that, will never be forgotten. And it's just like, man, I mean, the amount of pressure that guy had day in, day out. I say this because I remember on a much smaller scale, the first extension I ever signed was in the middle of spring training. And while we were in the middle of that, I was like afraid to cross the street, like I'd look both ways. I just didn't want to roll my ankle stepping over a curb. Like I just was so nervous all the time. And this guy was like stealing bases, robbing homers, like playing, and wouldn't, just playing like you should be, and doing it, with what was at stake. It was just incredible to watch. And then the performance, on top of it was just really remarkable.
So I want to spin back the Wayback Machine to 2011. There are probably a lot of people who don't remember. You made your major league debut. I think it was 1 week in June. So you were actually teammates with Albert Pujols for 1 week as a big leaguer, because he left the following offseason after winning the championship and moving out to Anaheim. What was it like walking into a clubhouse? I mean, obviously you knew him from spring training and stuff, but it's different knowing a guy in spring training and being a fellow big leaguer with Albert Pujols. Do you remember a story or something that happened where you're like, holy shit, I can't believe this?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you a bunch. I mean, growing up in Houston, as an Astros fan, Albert just broke our hearts, consistently. Obviously everyone remembers the big homer he hit off Brad Lidge. That one stuck out, but I mean, I was a guy who was watching regular season games. I mean, he just, we were in the division with the Astros back then, with the Cardinals back then. The Astros were in that division, and the guy just killed us and killed most of the league. So I mean, watching him from as I was growing up following it, and then to be in the same clubhouse with him, it was pretty surreal. But I think the biggest thing that I noticed, and I told my college coach this, is when you're a player of his caliber, and you could throw Judge in this category, there's so much added there's so much responsibility that comes with that from a teammate standpoint, because everybody watches every move you make. And that was the first thing that I noticed. Like, I couldn't take my eyes off the guy. Like, when I'm in the clubhouse, outside of the shower, I mean, that would be awkward. You're not staring at them then. I mean, you're literally just staring at I just caught myself staring at every move he made. And I started to think about that, like on like scale. It's just like how important that is for a team. When every single person is staring at you, the responsibility that you have to not only do the right thing, but lead. And he obviously did a great job of that and had a ton of success in St. Louis, and was a big part of why we were able to do what we were able to do. And I that was another thing. Going back to Aaron, similar thing. You just everyone is in awe of this guy or these guys, and everybody finds yourself staring at. You're watching every move they make, and it's those are the special kind of players that just draw your attention constantly, no matter what they're doing.
So you were a Killer Bees fan, huh?
Yeah, I was. Berkman. And that was another cool thing is, that first year, Lance was over there. Lance was
Right.
one of my favorite players, probably my favorite Astro growing up. And then, to get to put on the same uniform with him and be out, now to this day, to call him a friend, that's pretty cool. How that's all transpired.
So I imagine you were in the dugout, even though you weren't dressed for the game. Were you in the dugout during the playoff run and the World Series and everything?
I didn't get to make the postseason roster, unfortunately, but obviously, made the debut, got the World Series ring, got all that fun stuff. But yeah, no, I wasn't a part of the run, which was disappointing. But at the same time, I understood it. They had a pretty full group, and there certainly weren't any at bats to go around for me at that point, so it didn't make a lot of sense for me to be there. And so no, I missed out on that.
So I was calling games for Fox occasionally in like 2009 through 2011, and Daniel Descalso made his major league debut, and I think he was wearing number 60, and he was not on our sheet of players. And I see a guy coming out to pinch hit, and it says number 60, and we're trying to figure out. I'm looking at my stats guy. He writes down his name, and when you see the last name Descalso for the first time, you're in a panic as an announcer because you're like,
that's a tough one.
I butchered it so badly. I think it went something like, and now it's time for Daniel Really, I tripped over it 8 times, and I apologized to his parents on the air and everything. I was like, I'm so sorry that this
That's
is
a tough one.
It was such a panic. It was such a panic back then. Oh my God.
Oh my.
So I always love going to St. Louis covering games, but that is like a cringe moment for me in my broadcasting world.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you guys do it. There's some names that I wouldn't even try.
Yeah. So you had this amazing run in St. Louis. And one thing we talk about on this show a lot is how you deal, because this is a sport. It's a sport of failure, right? And your last few seasons, you've talked about this, did not go the way you wanted it to. When it ended and they didn't decide to pick up the option and everything, how low did it get? Did you have to share with your wife or your family, like, this is a real hard time for me? How did you deal with that?
It's gonna sound, this is I really want this to sound not cliche, because it might, but for me it really is true. Look, I'm not gonna say at all by any means was it easy or I enjoyed it, but I'm the kind of guy, and I've always been this way. I tried my best to be this way. Is that I try to keep the big perspective in perspective. And one thing that I've realized about my career, and it's gotten easier as I've gotten older, but for me, my biggest failures are what leads me to some of my biggest successes. Like, the things that have been the hardest and the biggest struggles I've had in my career are what really have like jump started and promoted and encouraged me to have some of the greatest moments of my career. Twice in my life, I walked off a baseball field thinking that I had played my last game. I've done that twice. The first time was in college. I didn't think I'd get drafted. I was a 13th rounder who signed for $1,000, fifth-year senior. I was 23 years old. I had never had a conversation with a scout. I didn't have an agent. I mean, when I walked off the field for my last college baseball game, I thought that was it. And, the Cardinals took a chance on me. I got to play professional baseball. Last year, in AAA with the Texas Rangers. I called my parents, I called my wife, I called my brother, I called my sister, told them that this was it. I had walked off the field. I had already called the GM, Chris Young, and let him know that I was, opting out. They made the decision that they were not going to call me up. And I had walked off the baseball field for what I thought was the last time. And 3 days later, got a phone call from Brian Cashman and was in the lineup with the Yankees. So I say all that because, some of the toughest moments of my career and failures have led to some of the most unforgettable moments that I would have otherwise never gotten to experience if I hadn't gone through those tough times. The last 2 years in St. Louis for me were a struggle. I didn't perform well at all. Towards the end, I didn't get a lot of opportunity and didn't really deserve it. And when I did get those opportunities, I didn't capitalize on them. But I never felt sorry for myself. I never, doubted the fact that I felt like I could still play this game at a high level. And I went out and, tried to, make a comeback and was successful doing it. And, I don't regret at all, my time in St. Louis. I wish that it would have ended well. Would I like to sit here and say that I would have loved to, ride off in the sunset, like Adam Wainwright's doing this year and finish my whole career there and, just retire as a Cardinal. Yeah, that was the goal. But, sometimes that doesn't work out. But, I got to do something amazing last year and play for the New York Yankees. I'm getting to do something amazing this year and getting to play for the San Diego Padres, who have a legitimate chance of winning the World Series. And, those are some of the blessings that came from some of the struggles. And, I've been really fortunate and happy that, I've gotten those opportunities.
Amazing perspective. Thank you for sharing that. With that being said, how the hell did you not cry that first at bat back in St. Louis?
I had the glasses on for a reason, I'm pretty sure that I was getting pretty choked up, and just doing my best not to completely break down because there was a competition taking place. So I tried my best to stay in that moment, but it was certainly emotional. My family all being there as well. I mean, they were very emotional, and it was a cool moment for sure.
What was the competition?
Just trying to execute an at bat, trying to have trying to have a good plate appearance in the midst of
I thought somebody had bet you how quick you were going to cry. That's what I thought the competition was.
Yeah, and that would have been a bad bet for me to go with because I'm not sure I would have won it.
Yeah. By the way, did you tell Yachty or Pujols that you have a way better career ERA than they do on the mound?
No, I never thought about that. Yeah, no, I never thought about that, but you're right. I do.
Yeah. I mean, you worked, I think, an inning and a third against your current team, the San Diego Padres. In fact, I think you got Kim to fly out to the track or something like that. So, I mean, I don't know how many guys have a. Yeah, go ahead.
I told him right away. So I went up to his translator, Leo, and I was like, "Hey, Leo, I need you to, tell Kimmy something for me." He's like, "Yeah, what's that?" And I was like, "Let him know he's 0 for 1." and we got a good laugh out of it.
Were you throwing knuckleballs?
I was just trying to throw it as slow as I possibly could. There's one thing that I've learned having faced a ton of position players is if you're trying to throw hard, which none of us throw. I mean, some guys do, but if you're trying to throw the ball hard, that's when you get hit. If you try to throw it as slow as you possibly can, you have a way better shot. And I was literally trying to throw it as high, as slow as I possibly could, and was able to get a few flyouts and a ground ball.
By the way, nobody wants to be on the wrong end of this stuff, but it happens. I mean, you're going to play 162 games. You're going to get your balls kicked in at some point. Have you told Bomel that you're available?
I'd have, I mean, I'm hoping that we had an opportunity and we went with Brandon Dixon. He got to throw an inning this year. So, and it was a quick decision. He didn't even look my way. So I'm gonna have to keep politicking for it. Because I'm certainly willing and able.
Okay.
And the numbers don't lie.
No, the numbers don't lie. But then again, there's part of you probably that doesn't want to screw with a 0 ERA.
You are right. I do like the fact I got a ball at home in the trophy case that has that 0 on there. I want to keep it that way.
Today's episode of the Chris Rose Rotation presented to you by these guys over at Shady Rays. I want you to take on the sun with gear that is built to last. In fact, our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades at a very affordable price. Shady Rays offers world-class products just as good as any expensive pair, and guess what? They're going to keep money in your pocket. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in the history of eyewear. I told you this countless times. If you sit on your glasses, if you lose them in the ocean, if you misplace them, even on day one of ownership, they don't care because it's backed by lost and broken replacements, which means you call Shady Rays. You say, Shady Rays, I broke my shades. How much do I owe you? Nothing. You owe nothing. They are going to replace them. Even on day one of ownership. Even on day one of ownership. So if you lose or break a pair, it's fine. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back along with your purchase. And exclusively to our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. So head on over to shadyrays.com. I want you to use the code word ROSE. You are going to get 50% off 2+ pair of polarized sunglasses. My God. By the way, if I look as good in these sunglasses, how do you think you'll look in them? You guys are a fun team. I think you have probably, if we were to rank the teams 1 through 30 in terms of swag, Padres are probably top 2 or 3 at least. And the latest installment of it has been the sombrero and stuff. Who is in charge of the sombrero?
So it kind of rests at Tatis's locker. So I would say he is the keeper of it. And the sombrero, it's passed along to the player of the game. So last night Manny hit a big 3-run homer late to kind of seal the deal, and Manny is now in possession of the sombrero until we pass it along to the player of the game tonight. So it kind of moves around the clubhouse.
Now, does it stay in the clubhouse, or did he wear it back on the bus? Is it in his hotel room right now?
It stays in the clubhouse. So he's wearing it during the post-game celebration, and then he'll hang it at his locker. It's like a badge of honor until the following night.
Okay. And then the piñata stuff. I saw you take a hack at the piñata. I mean, somebody's got to be responsible for buying the piñatas. Those things aren't just lying in a clubhouse.
We got an amazing clubhouse staff that's bending over backwards to keep this piñata narrative going right now. So shout out to the San Diego Padres clubhouse staff is about as good as it gets, because that's not an easy job. I mean, I was DH in the first day we had it in San Diego, and I was back in my locker watching 6 guys try to hang a piñata from the middle of a clubhouse with screws and bolts and maintenance workers. It was quite the production, and they found a way to do it, and we ended up winning that night and smacked the piñata down. Candy flew everywhere, trash everywhere, and I mean they're troopers. We're good guys to keep this thing rolling for us.
At 37 years old, do you partake in the candy eating?
I don't. No.
Oh.
No. Yeah, I gotta avoid the sweets as best as I can.
I saw Buzz Lightyear as one of the piñatas. What else has been out there?
We've had I think it was a frog. We've had Buzz Lightyear. We've had a star. It's just, I mean, it's been all kinds of things, and I don't know. I don't know if we're trying to do something new every night. I haven't seen a repeat. I haven't seen 2 of the same yet. So it's been something different every night.
Okay. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in on this. I think we should start customizing these and make them either mascots of the teams that you're playing, because, that's fun. If let's say you play the Phillies and you beat them and take a swing at the Philly fanatic, or just some generic guy in a Phillies, Dodgers, Giants uniform, whatever. Let's up it a little bit.
I like where your head's at. I'm gonna spread the word. I think you're onto something here.
Thank you. Now, I do have to ask you this because you played the Dodgers last weekend and you are in LA this weekend. Did you see the Kershaw crying meme?
I did. Yeah. I gotta tread this lightly because I don't want to upset anybody, but I'll just say ton of respect for Clayton and his career and who he is and what he's about. I'll just leave it at that.
Can I ask you this? If you were on the other side of it, if you were, let's say you were in the other clubhouse, would you want to like approach Clayton as a veteran, or would you just kind of let him be and he'll figure it out on his own?
I'll tell you what. I mean, I yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't, I kind of I would probably let it be. I'm just gonna, that's kind of how I'm handling the whole thing right now. Just trying to act like I didn't even see it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You guys had to deal with something that was really uncomfortable this year with Fernando coming back from an 80-game suspension. As a guy who was not on the team before it, what did you want to hear out of his mouth the first time that he addressed it? But as a guy who's been around this game as long as you have.
I mean, look, I'm in the sense, my stance on the whole thing is, look, guys make mistakes. I never want to be the type of person that's unwilling to forgive in any scenario, whether it be, baseball related or not. I'm a believer in second chances. I'm a believer in forgiveness, and if you're someone that continues to break my trust repeatedly, then there might be a situation where I have to cut you out of my personal life. It's just kind of the way I am. But if you're someone that makes a mistake and you own up to it, we can continue to be, friends, and I'm gonna, love you and care for you. And that was kind of my stance with him is like, look, guys make mistakes, you own up to it, you address it, and we move past it. And, he's a great from my experience being around this guy, this is a great guy. This is a great human being, a good player, obviously, but just a young guy who made a mistake and has owned up to it and has come back with his hat in hand and, doing his best every day to be a good teammate and an ambassador of the San Diego Padres. And not just that, Major League Baseball. I mean, this is a generational talent. Let's not forget the fact that, I mean, this guy was on the cover of MLB The Show. I mean, and he still is. I mean, I watch the guy, like the reaction he gets from fans wherever we go. Kids, even adults, they love this guy. I mean, he's such a thrill to watch play the game of baseball. So, I'm a huge fan of his. I love who he is as a teammate, and I'm pulling for him to have a great career and a great season for us this year, and just this be something that is forgotten about.
Yeah, here's where I sit as a fan, right? Like he was one of there aren't a lot of guys that have come up in my 5+ decades of being a baseball fan where you're like, holy shit, I got to watch this guy every minute I can because I might see something new, right? I mean, twice in his rookie year, he scored on a tag up to a second baseman or something. Amazing. He has served his penalty. And you can think about whatever you want, how he has run his life to this point and the decisions that he's made. But once you serve your penalty, to me, it's done. Like, what sort of society do we live in where we're just going to continue to grind people down and just say, fuck it. No, you did something bad. I'm not going to let you back in. Like, that's not where my heart lives. Some people might, and I can't judge them for that, but that's where I sit.
For sure. I mean, and I'm with you. I mean, look, there's nobody that's walked the planet Earth that hasn't made a mistake. I mean, or done something, that they regret or, what have you. I mean, I've done plenty of things that I wish I could take back. And, I've made mistakes in my life. And if I wasn't able to be forgiven, that would be a tough life to live. And so, like I said, when you make a mistake, you own up to it, you serve the penalty, and we move forward. I agree with you.
You have nothing to apologize for your college football team last year. Damn, was that a fun run. Holy,
Oh,
did you
man.
go to either of the playoff games?
I didn't miss a single one. Yeah, yeah, it was incredible. I was once we, unfortunately, eliminated from the ALCS. I went back to Fort Worth and I didn't miss a single game, and it was quite a run, quite a thrill. The city of Fort Worth was obviously just absolutely ecstatic, and just the energy was crazy, and all my college buddies, and just it was just like it felt like a reunion every home game, and then throughout the whole postseason with them. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, for you guys to do what you did against Michigan in that second half, I hope you let Cronenworth, you just play it on your phone occasionally and just walk past him since he's a Michigan guy. Let him have it.
Oh yeah, we've had some good conversations about that game. He's still not taking it well. Yeah, it's still something that he thinks about. It
Being
was a
an
tough
Ohio
one for
State
them.
fan, yeah, I can tell you this. They're so uppity, those Michigan people.
Nobody expected us to win that game. Yeah, they were caught off guard, to say the least.
Now, how many beers did you have the next week out at SoFi Stadium for the national championship? Because that one got long.
That was a tough one. Yeah, yeah. We certainly we popped a few, and I'm not sure how many plays I watched in the second half. I was at the game, yeah, it was ugly. It was
Did
ugly.
Arrieta go
But
with you?
I was all over him about it. It's like, man, how can you miss this? But no, he wasn't there.
I know why, because he probably didn't know what planet he was on. You and I both know Jake. He probably
he gave me the family obligation story, so I just left it at that.
okay. He was probably doing naked Pilates.
I mean, there's a chance. I mean, I'll tell you what though, if I look half as good as he does when I'm retired, I'll take it. The guy's in it's ridiculous shape. Absolutely ridiculous shape.
Was he always that way? Was he that way at TCU?
He was, man. And I give Jake is a guy who had a pretty big impact on my career and my own personal fitness journey. So I don't know, not a lot of people know, but I was not in great shape as a college first 2 years of college. Just typical you hear the freshman 15 types of deal. Like, I got to college and I ate too much fast food and I drank too much beer and I didn't sleep and I gained a bunch of weight and I wasn't in great shape. Ended up getting hurt. It's part of this my story of why I was in college for 5 years. So the first 2 years I kind of messed around. Um, didn't really take care of the things I needed to take care of and got out of shape. Ended up blowing out my elbow, Tommy John, as a position player, which is complete. I mean, it doesn't happen a ton, although we've seen it with Bryce Harper, but it is still is rare. And mine was, I really do believe mine was you know, a partly because of the poor shape that I was in. And so Jake was the exact opposite as a college athlete. I mean, this dude was I'd never seen someone train the way that this guy trained and eat the way that this guy I never really I didn't know anything about nutrition. So I was I watched why are you eating chicken and rice? What is it? What is this? And naive to just what it was to fuel yourself the right way, where I'm crushing, fast food and just questioning, why this guy's doing what he does. So when I decided that after I blew out my elbow, I decided that I was going to make a change. And, a lot of my change, I just kind of started following and doing the things he was doing. And, it helped me out a lot. So, that was a long-winded answer to your question. But yes, Jake has always been that way. Super, super regimented in his weightlifting and the way he eats and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think I read you were 240. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I was 240 and probably, I don't even know. what the body fat percentage was, but it was high. And because I wasn't strong. I mean, I didn't. It's not like I was 240 like strong. It was
Right.
like soft 240. It was not good. And yeah, I mean, I needed to make some serious changes, and thankfully was able to do that.
Can't imagine you. What are you, 200 right now? Maybe?
I'm like 210, but
Okay, yeah.
like 210 and, somewhat strong, like muscular, and 240 and not very muscular and not very
Yeah.
strong.
We already talked to the
Just bad
people
weight.
that were working out in the gym next to you. They were like, God, the guy, he doesn't look strong, but he was putting it up today, that Minneapolis gym. So there you
Well, I
go.
appreciate
That's the
that.
way. Absolutely. We're going to let you go in just a second. But does this feel like it's World Series or bust based on the way that the Padres spent in the offseason and the talent you've accumulated?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a player's perspective, that's the goal. I mean, that's our mentality. I mean, we're gonna be disappointed um, if we don't walk away at the end of the season hoisting that trophy over our shoulders. I mean, that is the goal, the expectation, and we're gonna be one of many teams that will be disappointed if they don't do that. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair assessment that we want to win this thing, and if we don't, we're going to be super disappointed about it.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's that many teams. I got to be honest with you. The way some of these jokers don't spend in the league, Padres,
I
Dodgers,
I,
Mets.
I totally agree. I think that look, every team goes into spring training. This is what I said this to somebody in our spring training this year. Is like every team comes into spring training saying, "Hey, we want to win the World Series," but really, there's about 10 truly that mean it,
Yeah,
and have a chance, and that might be high. 10 might be high.
it's high. I think it's high. I think it's high, but I agree with you. And I love it that Peter Seidler has done what he's done. By the way, have you talked to the boss man, the owner?
He's a stud. He's a stud. Such a such a stud. Like, got him a great mustache too. I don't know if you've seen that.
Well, come on. It doesn't. What it, as you can see, I mean, the last time you saw me, I was clean shaven. So I've just tried to beard out the last couple of years. But yours is as push broom and pro as it gets.
I'm part of why, I'm holding on to this with you. This is the last part of my facial hair that doesn't have gray in it.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
was
just,
wondering how you did that. You don't color
yeah,
that at all?
no, no, no. This is all natural. Now, if I grew my beard out like you, we'd be a lot of salt and pepper down here. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is this is the last remaining dark hair on the body, on the
What
face.
what is what does the wife think of? Does she like a beard as opposed to a mustache?
My wife is extremely sweet, and so I have to take that with a grain of salt, but she says she loves my mustache. But I mean, do I believe the fact that she would tell me she hated it if she hated it? I'm not sure she would. So how she really feels about it, I'm not sure. But I do think she likes it.
I would think of going full handlebars. You and handlebars, that would, I mean, if you could just get a little
It,
longer.
I mean, I could do it. It's a matter of, do I want to do it? I don't know. There's a commitment level there that I'm not sure I'm willing to make. You got to have the
Oh,
wax
man.
and the whole, that's one extra thing to pack. I like to travel lightly,
Come on. How big is the wax? We're talking this big. You don't think
but
the clubbies could hide it in a pinata on the way at somewhere?
they they probably could. They probably could. But I mean, it's just one extra thing to deal with. But if we'll see. If there's hits in it, I'll do anything for hits.
Hell yes. All right. We're going to spin the wheel of moderately interesting things, which we have not done in a while, but people were getting pissed at me that I hadn't brought it out. So here we go. It's a very simple question. Oh, grade A. How were your high school grades?
Oof.
Oh, no.
I'll be honest with you. I'll just you know what? I'll just be honest. So I lived under the motto, and I am so like embarrassed to say this, but I did the absolute just bare minimum in school to make sure that I was eligible to be on the field for baseball. By no means am I like, I would be honest with you if I say it. If I wanted to be, I could have been a good student. Towards the end of my college career, I started taking it a little bit more serious and made good grades like the last 2.5 years of college and finished with a degree. But high school and first 2 years of college, like it was just absolute bare minimum to make sure I was eligible to play. So not good is the answer.
Okay, but you know what? I like that you finished strong. You got your degree.
Finished strong. And I've got kids now, and I just, I'm totally like ashamed of that mentality and the way that I went about that. And I hope one day that they see this, and I hope you do the opposite of that, Cannon and Kinley.
Hey, we're here to teach. Okay,
that's right. And for all the kids that are listening out here, your grades are way more important than baseball or any sport that you're playing. So,
right,
don't follow in my footsteps.
Unless you can consistently hit them 420 in high school.
Yeah, well, if you're really good, learn how to hit a 3-2 slider. Then we'll give you a pass.
Yeah. Which is why my son's studying for the APs right now. Thank you. This was awesome catching up with you, man. I'm so happy that we were able to do this, and you're in an amazing place right now, and you just seem well-centered. God, it's good. I love hearing all this. It's good.
Chris, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Tell all those guys in the Padres clubhouse to say hi, and I will see you in a month when I go visit my Cleveland Guardians down there in San Diego. This will be a lot of fun. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Robbie Scirocco, and the soon-to-be wearing Fu Manchu, Matt Carpenter of the San Diego Padres. I am Chris Rose. We'll see you next time on the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media.